All right, everybody, welcome back to the bench. So this week, we're going to talk about our 16-inch build. This is a 16-inch build that's going to have some sort of community input in a couple of different directions when it comes to optics and when it comes to bolt carrier group. Everything else I kind of already have picked out and bought. We are going to be doing a Griffin muzzle device. I have the handguard already. We're going to talk about that. There's just a bunch of cool stuff that I think this is going to be a fun build that we can kind of do. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I wanted to do a cheap, good gun. I wanted to show you guys what a cheap, good gun is. So let's go ahead and hop into it. I'm going to show you guys my part selection, what I have for part selection so far. This is a 15-inch Midwest Industries Combat Modular Rail or CMR Combat Rail. It's a 15-inch combat rail from Midwest Industries. That's what we're going to go ahead and call it. It probably says it on here somewhere. No, it doesn't. This is probably one of the nicest, lightest weight handguards that you can get with the mounting hardware. Not being titanium, it's insanely light. I love these rails. Now, Midwest Industries also makes a Night Fighter series. They make it in 13.5, 10.5, and like 9.5 or 7.5. They make it in a few different lengths, but they don't make it nearly in as many lengths as they make this guy. Now, this is a 15-inch rail, so this is a pretty long one. As stated, we have a 16-inch barrel. But I did really want to go ahead and just run the Midwest Industries handguard because I really like it. One, I had it on hand. I didn't have to reach out to a company and be like, hey, can you send me something cool? I've already had this. It's been sitting for a while, and I wanted to do a really, really good 16-inch build with you guys that I think would work and would just perform well and doesn't cost a fortune, because the whole meat and potatoes of this build is to not cost a fortune. That's really what I want for you guys to take away from this. It's something that doesn't cost us an arm and a leg. All right, so as you guys can see, we are running a forward controls design gas block. Yes, this is an expensive-ish part. It's about 55-ish or less dollars for this gas block. This is one of the tightest, best fitting gas blocks that you can possibly have. I have run through Aero Precision gas blocks, Ballistic Advantage gas blocks. I have run through a bunch of different random companies. Every single time I use a gas block from one of the cheaper companies, I end up getting horrible results. The gas blocks don't fit. They are way too loose. They kind of just jiggle on there. They go on really easy. It's a huge pain. When you get a forward controls design gas block, they are so well machined and undersized almost that they just fit perfectly on your barrel. And that's what I wanted for this. In fact, I'm going to input a video that I took the other day of this gas block on this barrel with no screws in it, no pins, no nothing. Your barrel / upper receiver without anything in it should be able to be held by your gas block. That is how tight your gas block should be. It should be that way. It should make good contact all the way around. Now, there are gauges that you can go out and buy to make sure that these gas blocks are held on and are rock solid and all that. I don't recommend having to go out and spend all that money on top of all the gun parts that you want to get. They're good gas blocks. If you ever get one and it's not tight enough, you either have an undersized barrel. Like your barrel shoulder right there where the gas port is just undersized. That's kind of what we have to deal with at that point. Other than that, I've never had one of these not fit. They are very, very, very tight fitting, good gas blocks. I know I went on a little bit of a rant there with gas blocks, but so many people get that wrong in their build and they wonder why it won't cycle, won't do certain things. Gas block is probably ultra loose. I have a gas tube on the way from Brownells. They make pretty decent gas tubes. I have yet to come into one that is not in spec. So with that being said, that's what I'm going to run for now. If we notice excessive leaking out of the gas block area around the gas tube, we'll figure that out also. All right, so as you're looking at this barrel right now, you may be wondering why I went with a 1-in-9 twist barrel. This is a microparticle inspected Rosco manufacturing 5.56 chambered 1-in-9 twist chrome lined barrel. I don't know the gas port size off the top of my head. I will see if I can request that information from Rosco, but I don't know. This was one of their kennel bargain bin barrels that they had kind of chilling around. I think I have a screenshot of it somewhere. I might not. I could very well be mistaken. But they had this. It was on sale, I think 89 bucks. It had a chopped front sight base. So if you guys are looking here, you guys can see that there was some sort of pinned front sight base on here. I did remove that because it had a chopped front sight base, and I was looking for handguards that could possibly fit that. There was only one. It's a 10-inch Geisley handguard, and I didn't want to put a 10-inch handguard on a 16-inch gun, but it is what it is. Yes, it is carbine length gas. I know that a lot of people will be like, what the hell, dude? Like, I don't know why you went with carbine length, but I did. And there's not much I can really say in the negative to carbine length gas other than, yeah, mid-length, rifle length, intermediate length. Those are all really, really good length gas systems. But I wanted to build out a cheap gun. And a lot of cheap guns have carbine length gas systems because it's just the easiest way to make a barrel. This isn't a cold hammer forged barrel, but it is chrome lined, so we'll have a longer barrel life than most other barrels out there that don't have really long barrel life. Like all the other nitrided barrels, you should probably get chrome lined at the minimum. There is a very, very, very good explanation of jumping up to cold hammer forged chrome lined barrels. Those are second to none. Daniel Defense, FN. There's a lot of people who make really, really good cold hammer forged chrome lined barrels. In fact, even Sons of Liberty Gunworks is now making or having them made for them in their V2 system or their V2 lineup. So by all means, go check those out. I went with the Geisley upper receiver because I had it on hand. There is no special need or special reason to have one of these. It's just because that's what I had on hand and that's what I wanted to build off of, was just a cheap upper receiver. Now, I highly recommend that you do spend a little bit of money on your upper receiver. Don't go out and buy $40, $45, $50 upper receivers. They have a tendency to have terrible QC. Yes, upper receiver, I guess, doesn't matter as much as like your bolt carrier group and barrel. But when it comes to your upper receiver, I don't recommend cheaping out on it. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you to spend $150 on a Geisley one. This came in a matched OD green set. I didn't necessarily love this upper receiver on the 20-inch that I built it on before, so I took it off. It's been chilling up in my spare area for parts, and I just wanted to use it here. So that's why I use it here. You could throw in name brand or name whatever upper receiver you want. But I prefer to go with this one because it's what I had on hand. I know it's in spec. I know it's really good. And if I ever do have a problem with it, I can blame Geisley. They've already blocked me on Instagram. Magpul dust cover, first of all, they're dumb easy to install. I don't have to spend $45 on a forward control designs one. And yeah, it's better than Strike Industries. I will forever hate them. They have the worst parts imaginable. When I say I will do a cheap build, I will do a cheap build, but I will actively avoid everything that ever has to do with Strike Industries as a company. Hate me for what I say. They make absolute junk. They're in the same realm of Bear Creek Arsenal, if you ask me. All right, so when it comes to the gun, we know exactly what we're building now. I am looking at either an LPVO or a red dot. I think red dots are personally better because that's the cheaper route to go. I don't like cheap LPVOs. If I'm gonna do an LPVO, I'm gonna spend a decent amount of money on it. Most likely over $1,000. I don't necessarily want to do that for this build. So I have a feeling that I would like to go with a red dot. Red dots we can usually cheap out a little bit. I have a Holosun 403R gold dot that I've had for 6 years. That thing is fantastic. It's now living on another gun. We're not going to talk about that right now, but there are options that we can go for cheap red dots. I don't think I'm going to go with like a Siley optic or a CV Life optic or any one of those things. I want to build a decent one, but I still want to stick in the budget range. So I think our max budget for like a red dot would be like 500 bucks. So whether we can pick one of those up used, new, whatever, if we get an aim point or something along those lines, we'll see what we can do exactly to kind of make this happen. But if we are going with an LPVO, I feel like we're doing the gun injustice because I don't want to buy cheap LPVOs. They have a tendency to be terrible. I know you're going to be like, but I love my $300 Vortex LPVO. That's fantastic, and I'm happy for you. But that is not the route I want to go with this. If I'm going to use it, if we're going to use it as like a varmint gun, I feel like we need at least $600 to $700 worth of glass to sit on here. I think probably the cheapest one that we could possibly do that would be good would be the PST Gen 2, the 1-6, that would be really good for this. Maybe a Steiner P4XI, something along those lines for an LPVO, especially with this. I just think that would be really, really good to do. I think I could pick up a Steiner P4XI relatively cheap, especially for this build. And then bolt carrier group, as I said, I don't want to go with some shitty brand, aka Bear Creek Arsenal, aka Strike Industries. I don't want to do one of those things. I would like to have a decent one. ARFCOM or ARFTAC has a bolt carrier group that's built up. It's like $130. That would probably be the most expensive besides the upper receiver and the handguard. That would probably be one of the more expensive ones. I know that I would like to either go chrome lined. That's always a good option. Superlative Arms has some, I think they're DLC coded bolts. I'm sorry, carriers. And we could get a bolt for it for relatively cheap. We could figure that out. I don't want to put a ton of money into the bolt carrier group, but I do want to spend a little bit, as I said. Like, we want to go cheap, but I don't want to go so cheap that it's just going to be junk. Like, I'm not putting junk on a gun. To me, it's like you should be able to pick up a rifle and trust it. And I can't pick up a rifle that has Strike Industries parts or anything like that. I think we need to go and do a little bit better than that. So let me know what you guys think down below. I know some of you are going to be very upset with me because how dare you say that my Strike Industries that's had 52,000 rounds through it is going to fail. Look, dude, nobody believes you when you say that. Nothing I've ever seen from Strike Industries works that well, ever. So there we go. As always, let me know your comments down below. I will put up some community posts when we can kind of narrow down some stuff. You should see some of that. And then hopefully we'll get to this out to the range somewhat soon with some things on it when you guys stop bickering in the comments. So thank you guys so much for everything. As always, I love you. Go head on over there to the community poll at some point when I have that up. Be a hoodlum.